psychopaths. You know, and they're like, what are psychopaths? Because a lot of people say, they misuse that word, and I'm not a psychologist or what is this, a psychiatric or whatever you call those guys. I'm not a doctor, in psychology or anything like that. But I do, I guess, know what a psychopath is because it's so popular in pop culture. And because I was told, I forgot who told me, I think when I was in school, somebody told me what a psychopath was. And basically, it's someone who lacks empathy, who lacks certain emotions that stop people from doing certain things. For example, guilt. It's an emotion that stops you from doing certain things. Pretty much the only thing that psychopaths is stopped by is by something harming them in some sort of way. Then they see how that's bad, and but they can't. They lack that empathy, and they lack a sense of why they should do certain things and why certain things are wrong or right. Um, they have that disconnect in their brain. So it's not always necessarily that they kill. They don't always kill. It's just that they'll do whatever they can and have the capability of doing in order to get what they want. And there's a lot of people like that. You probably know people like this. The thing about it is that psychopaths develop certain traits that allow them to be perceived as normal people in the day-to-day basis. Like early on, they figure out, I'm not like other people. I lack certain human traits that I don't have those things. So I have to pretend, to maneuver around regular people until I get the things that I want. And there's, you probably know psychopaths yourselves. But the thing is, like, in movies, most psychopaths are portrayed as killers. They're portrayed as, serial killers. And there is a difference between a psychopath and a killer. I mean, a serial killer and a psychopath. And it just happens to be that most of the time, a lot of these serial killers are psychopaths. Um, and then there's sociopaths and all kinds of different types of clinical analysis. But from what I know, from my limited, um, understanding, that is what a psychopath is. And, Hollywood has been enamored with it, not just Hollywood, but a lot of filmmakers have been enamored with these people because, they're kind of like a strange creature in a way because they're different than most people. Like I said, they lack empathy and they lack the moral compass. It's not ingrained into them. They see it as a rule book that they can choose to follow. It's weird. But one of the first portrayals that I remember was Hannibal Lecter. Hannibal Lecter is like the first one that I remember. Then you have others that aren't necessarily psychopaths, but they're more like dissociative disorders, meaning they disassociate themselves with their own person. Like, for example, your name is John or whatever, but you turn into this other person, kind of like Split. You turn into this other person in order to get certain things done. Which there's a certain level of psychopathy to that, but it's not necessarily being a psychopath. And that's what I wanted to go over, like psychotic killers and shit like that, which is different than a psychopath. It's just a killer that has a certain um, mental problem that makes him want to do the killings, and so anyways, let's proceed. One of the first ones that I want to mention is Death Proof, directed by Quentin Tarantino. Not necessarily one of my favorite movies. The movie in itself, wasn't necessarily one of the best things I've ever seen. It's not. It was a good concept. It was a good idea. I like the idea. I thought it was very original in my personal opinion. But it just the way it was made, it kind of seemed it just wasn't my cup of tea personally. But I did like definitely like the originality of the idea. So it's a guy who his thrill is to crash a car, survive, but they're with a dead woman by her side or somehow. And this is something that he wants. He needs for this to happen. And he goes around talking to women, kind of like most psychopaths do, and he lures them into the car. He has a nice car. They like the car. Women sometimes like cars. The guy's sick, and you could tell him going through all that trouble to try to get one of these women into the car with him, so that he could get his thrill. This is how he gets off. And he also crashes against other people and but his car is death proof. He has souped it up in a way so that he doesn't suffer or he doesn't die in the process. So it's a death proof car. And he starts explaining the whole explanation when he starts explaining to the girl that she's gonna die pretty soon, and that he's gonna crash, and the proof, the death proof thing only works if you're sitting in the driver's seat. And it reminds me of a lot of not a lot of psychopaths. There was a certain psychopath that I remember that used to tie women up in a trailer park somewhere. I forgot where it was. And he would tell them what he was gonna do. He would put a tape on a recording of him speaking and telling her what he was gonna do to her, and all the gruesome details that was gonna happen every day, and how she was eventually gonna die. And he would do this a couple of times to a lot of women. He would do, and this is a real live psychopath, by the way. And the thing about these guys is that they need to do this, and they go through all this trouble, souping up his car. Who knows how much it cost him? He has to repair his car because his car is death proof to him, meaning he's not gonna die, but I'm pretty sure he's gonna get some scars and bruises. And his car is gonna suffer for sure, so he's gonna have to repair his car. All of this costs a lot of money, and he's still doing it because he needs it, and that's pretty much one of the best portrayals of a psychopath. They're very charming as well. That's one thing you're always gonna hear, is that psychopaths are very charming because, like I said, they develop a way to appear normal, and not just normal, but even charming to everyday humans. But definitely check this one out. It's kind of, you can kind of see what a psychopath is in this, because he cares about nothing else but getting his shit off. This is what gets him off, and he has to do it. And there's a part in this movie where I realized I was normal, but almost too normal to the sense to where it could almost be harmful to myself, because there was a part in the movie where he's begging, not to be killed, right? He's really afraid, and I realized in the moment I was like, I feel sorry for the guy, even though he's the killer, even though he's the guy, he's the one doing, and he should die because of all the atrocities he has done. There's still part of me that feels for the guy, and then I realized I'm okay. I'm not a psychopath, because a psychopath, he doesn't have that. He doesn't have empathy, and he just sees the pleasure that he's gonna get from causing bodily harm on somebody else, or whatever it is that they need to do. Because there is some guys in my list that don't necessarily kill. But if you were to die in the process of him getting what he wants, it's not really gonna hurt him. It's not really going to affect him, because it's not a your feelings are not even a deal to him. Your death is not even in his priorities at all. It doesn't matter. Your life isn't a priority. Um, so yeah, that's one of the parts that I personally remember from the movie. But anyways, another underrated portrayal of a psychopath, that a lot of people don't necessarily talk about, is the one from Blue Steel. And this is an old movie. This is probably why it is not in a lot of people's lists. But Blue Steel, um, is about a woman. It's a really good movie, actually. This movie I actually did like. Um, and unlike the Death Note, I mean Death Proof. Like I said, it's not my cup of tea, but I know a lot of people love Quentin Tarantino and everything that comes out of his ass. They eat up, and that's fine. I like some of his movies. Some of them I don't really like at all. Like, for example, what is it? Hateful Eight. Did not like that movie. There's other ones that I don't like as well, but people are gonna get mad if I mention them. So the Django was good. I like the Django. But anyways, back to Blue Steel. This movie I really did enjoy. It's about a female cop that, and by the way, a lot of people might not like that, because in this day and age, like I said, you can't see a woman in a lead role because people lose their shit, right? So men are a lot more sensitive than they used to be. Back in the day, we had a lot of um, lead roles for females, and nobody really cared. Um, but anyways, Jamie Lee Curtis, this is the same actress from Halloween, and also True Lies. You could see her in True Lies, and she's really good. I forget what other movie she was in, but she's a very good actor. Um, I really enjoy her movies, but in this movie here, she plays a cop. She plays a cop, and she shot she shot about, I think, three people on the job. I forget how many, but it's a lot for a cop, basically. Because cops usually they go their whole lives, supposedly from what I hear, and they don't really use their weapons. It's very rare. I don't know if that's true or not, but in the case of her character, um, she's done it way more times, and she's feeling bad about it. She's feeling bad about having some type of curse, or something, that she feels like she always has to be at the right place at the right time to shoot people, and she doesn't like that. She feels like she's gonna retire or something, because she doesn't want to do it anymore. She doesn't want to shoot people anymore. But there's this guy, this psychopath that does like shooting people, and in fact, he likes it so much that it's almost he gets off on it, like literally, like he gets orgasms from shooting people. It's a power trip to him, and the power is so overwhelming that, and that actually happens in the movie. You actually see him screaming and going crazy, and it seems like it's an orgasm, but also it seems like it's anger. It's so weird. It's freaky. It's crazy. I remember seeing this and thinking, dude, like this is crazy. I can't believe I'm watching this uh, on TV. This was on TV, by the way. I saw this on TV, and it happened. The shit with the blood, because he gets off on it and he puts the blood all over, or maybe that's what I remember, and maybe it didn't even happen. Because it actually is. It is a thing for me that I remember shit that doesn't even happen, so I have to rewatch it again. But from what I remember, he kills somebody and he bathes. He rubs the blood all over himself, kind of like bathing with it or something. And you could see him screaming and kind of an orgasm, really ecstasy. And this guy becomes obsessed with the cop, the female cop, and he has to kill her. He has to kill her, or torture her, because to this particular psychopath, what he wants more than anything is to feel powerful and to feel in control. And he likes to make people fear. He realizes he likes to make people fear him, and then he shoots them. That makes him feel strong and makes him feel like he's in control. The gun makes him feel in control. Um, and and this is a good example of a psychopath, in my opinion, because it's something so strong to them. It's something that they feel that's so heavy, so strong that they can't really stop it. They can't stop it, and I feel like even if he wanted to do it, he couldn't do it. The only way out of this is for him to get killed, and it's kind of like a good example, in my opinion, one of the best examples of a psychopath. But anyways, definitely check this one out. Um, let's move on here. Another one, is the talented Mr. Ripley. Um, the talented Mr. Ripley, you know, you definitely should go see this movie. And this guy, he's not like a killer. He does kill eventually, but the way he's portrayed here, it's like he's gonna do whatever it takes to get what he wants, and that's to be part of this life that he's not part of. He's a poor guy, or a regular guy, but he wants to be like this other guy, who's rich. He has a beautiful girlfriend. He has an awesome best friend. He travels the world. He travels Europe. Everything that uh, Mr. Ripley wants. Played by Matt Damon. And little by little, he makes a lie up, and then he makes another lie up, and another lie, and another lie, and it gets so big till eventually things get so crazy that he ends up killing somebody. And then he ends up trying to cover it up, and then he ends up, doing so many things that he turns into this other person that isn't even him anymore. And the thing is, a regular person, somewhere along the line would be like, there's too many lies, I have to come clean. Or at least I have to leave this place. I have to, not be part of these people anymore, because I'm not even like them. I'm a regular person. These people are rich. You know, they're not like me. They're eventually gonna get tired of me, so I'm just gonna leave. Right? That's a normal. I feel like that's normal shit. This is normal fears. But this guy, he's like, nah, I'm gonna continue with the lies, and I'm gonna continue with the lies so much that I'm going to go even further and kill in order to keep this life, this fake life that isn't even mine. So I'm pretty sure there's different levels of psychopathy to this, or different levels of brain craziness to this. But I definitely think he's still, you know, a bit of a psychopath, or maybe something else different than that, maybe a sociopath. I have no idea. Point is, you guys should definitely check this one out. Dude's crazy, and yeah, of course, Hannibal Lecter, right? Hannibal Lecter, all of his movies, by the way. I believe the first appearance of him was in The Hunted, but the old one from back in the day. Um, I think there's three different Hunted movies. One of them is Tommy Lee Jones and Benicio del Toro. Another one is a Japanese movie, with the guy from Highlander. I forgot his name. And then you have the first appearance of Hannibal Lecter, and that one was about psychopaths, somebody hunting psychopaths, and of course, Hannibal Lecter is a psychopath, right? Now, what he likes to do is he likes to eat people. Now, the thing about Hannibal Lecter is I feel like he does have a bit of empathy, and he does feel for some of his victims, just a little bit. But his hunger is greater, and his appetite is greater than what he sees in people. And the reason I think he has empathy is because I've seen him feel sorry for or maybe that's just him pretending, because he's still killing people as he feels sorry for them. I don't know why I'm laughing, but it's just Hannibal Lecter. He's a sick individual. And there's certain parts in the movie where he seems to be orgasming when he's eating people. I'm just saying, dude, it just seems that way. It's very weird. And by the way, there's a show about Hannibal Lecter. I forgot what the name of it was, but there is a show out there. You guys want to check it out. But yeah, I mean, there's not much I could say about Hannibal Lecter. There is an origin story to him, to where it shows you how he started and how he became, obsessed with eating people, and basically hunger and having to feed himself and his sister, I believe, and he developed an appetite for human meat. So there you go. An honorable mention is taking lives. This is, I feel like they took some elements from Matt Damon's Talented Mr. Ripley, which, by the way, the Talented Mr. Ripley was actually a book before it became a movie. But this movie here, it's kind of like the same thing, because it's about a guy who takes other people's identity, similar to the Matt Damon character, where he takes took one person's identity, and in the Matt Damon movie, it made it seem like this was easy to him, but in Taking Lives, which, by the way, there's a good scene with Angelina Jolie in this movie, which some people don't like, some people do. The thing is, Angelina Jolie, she kind of let herself go recently. I've seen a couple of pictures of her. She needs to eat more. That's all I'm gonna say. But this movie, I feel like I guess it's a good portrayal of a psychopath. But it's only an honorable mention because it's not the best, and it was alright. To me, this movie is a pretty good movie. It's not like the best movie ever. It's good. There's a bit of a mystery in there. There's a good scene with Angelina Jolie. And that's about it. Now this one, guys, I actually did enjoy. The Good Son, definitely check it out. It's about a kid who's a psychopath, pretty much. And it just goes to show how early it starts for these types of people. It starts very early, and I have known people like this, by the way. But the thing is, when you're so young, you don't really realize that you have a psychopath next to you. It's later on in life that you remember, and you're like, yeah, that guy was crazy. Um, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, right? The Leatherface. And Leatherface, in my opinion, my personal opinion, is not necessarily. He's a psychopath, but he's not a psychopath. I think he's just retarded. I think he's just something wrong with him. I feel like the psychopaths are the people around him. The whole town, you know, makes him do this pretty much. He's the guy who is butchering them, but he's really just doing it for the townspeople. I guess I don't know. It's weird because everybody's in on it, but this guy's just retarded. It's like there's a saying um, in Spanish, but I don't really know how to say it, so I'm not gonna. Basically, the saying means it's not so much that he's doing it, but it's the people that are helping him around him. Because he's just retarded. He's crazy and he's not right in the head. Um, but the people that are around him are in my opinion, worse, and probably the real psychopaths, because they really don't have empathy. When they should have empathy. A retarded person, they're just retarded. What are you gonna do? But anyways, 7, right? 7. Of course, this one was gonna be on here. Of course, right? If you've seen the movie, I mean, I'm pretty sure if you like crime drama, and if you like true crime, and if you like mystery, because I do enjoy mystery movies. I like a good um, plot twist or diversion or whatever. Um, and this one, they're looking for a guy who is killing people in the 7 deadly sins, right? What I like about this movie is that it shows the two types of people, and we have these two types of people in the world today. Actually, they're very loud, and Brad Pitt, he represents kind of like the guy who thinks everything is in black and white. Brad Pitt is very, I'm a cop, and you're the bad guy, and you ain't shit, and I'm gonna arrest you, and I'm a good guy, and you're a bad guy, and I am white and you're black. That type, not in the racial sense, just he thinks in black and white. He thinks in Republicans versus Democrats type shit. That's the way he sees the world, and he's very loud about it. He's very um, outspoken about it. And he's young and he thinks he knows everything. Now, Morgan Freeman's character, he's more he's more zen, I guess you could say. He's more like, okay, we got to understand what's going on with this guy. We got to put ourselves in this guy's shoes in order to try to find him. So he's trying to think like the psychopath. He's trying to think like the serial killer in order to catch him. He's trying to get to know him. He's trying to get to understand him. But Brad Pitt's character, he doesn't really get that. He thinks that that's weird. He's just um, the guy's crazy. Guy's loony. The guy's he starts saying all these things that he just doesn't like the guy. And of course, Morgan Freeman's character is not saying to like the guy. He's just saying, in order to get our job done, you have to have a certain level of science in your brain. And science, what you gotta understand is that it's not good or bad, and it doesn't really take sides. Science is just, there's a thing, we have to acknowledge the thing, and we have to figure out what the thing is so we can better understand it. And that way we'll be able to decide from there what to do with it. So it's very neutral, and Morgan Freeman's character, the whole time he's just trying to figure this thing out, trying to catch this guy. And he's the one he's really the smarter guy. Unfortunately, he couldn't stop the killer from doing the things he was going to do. Eventually, they catch him. And when it comes to the psychopath, I know that we're supposed to be focusing on the psychopath, but the psychopath in this movie, it's like I said, it seems like he could have some empathy, but the fact that he did all those things to these people, some of them it took a long time to torture and to go through the process of killing them. It shows that this guy is obsessed with this idea of the seven deadly sins, and he'll do anything to accomplish his mission that he believes he has to accomplish from God or whatever. And nothing's gonna stop him, get in his way. Nothing's gonna stop him. Nothing's gonna get in his way. He's gonna do everything to accomplish that. Even if he hurts a lot of people and tortures a lot of people, he's gonna get the job done. And that's basically what a psychopath is. So it's a very good portrayal. Another honorable mention is Natural Born Killers with Woody Harrelson and I forgot the other one, Juliet Lewis. Excuse me. Ugh. Yeah, pretty good. Pretty good. People just having fun. They're just having fun killing people. And the other thing I like about this particular movie is that it shows reporters and the way they think. They don't really care about people dying, and they're psychopaths themselves in a way, because there is people dying and there is people losing their lives, and all they care is getting those ratings, and they're putting the camera on these killers and having fun with them. Really, they're pretending like they care, but they really don't care. So it kind of shows a psychopath that kills and a psychopath that just points the camera. American Psycho is an honorable mention to me. A lot of people like American Psycho. I liked it kind of at the beginning, but not like to the point to where I'm obsessed with it and it's gonna be a cult classic and I'm gonna put memes on about it all the time. No, I'm not that obsessed with it, because here's the thing: a lot of people think that this guy's a hero, and a lot of people misunderstand this movie, and they think that this movie was praising, Christian Bale's character. I forgot his name. Norman Bates. No, Norman Bates is the other one. I forgot his name, but the point is, this movie was making fun of this guy. This movie he was making fun of the rich guy. And I definitely understand the movie way more than a lot of people seem to understand it now. Like nowadays, they think that this guy is cool, that he killed a homeless guy. And that he hates poor people. And you kind of start to see that in modern media now, where they're actually taking this guy and making him a hero. And that's something that bothers me personally, because the movie was not meant for that. The movie was meant to make fun of this guy. This guy's a loser, like real talk. But for some reason, this is what our heroes are today. It's crazy. I don't know. Nightcrawler, as I was saying before, like, this is a psychopath that doesn't necessarily kill, or he's not, his goal isn't necessarily to kill, but if you die along the way, who cares? This is what I mean when I say not all psychopaths are necessarily killers. They're not. A lot of the people that do work in media, they're a bit of psychopaths. A lot of the people that you see online, the influencers, a lot of them are psychopaths. A lot of them are. you know, I hate to break it to you, but you talk to them sometimes and there's nothing there. They're just, oh, take a picture, boom, take blah blah. They don't really care. They just want to get the picture. They want to get the the scoop. They want to get the info. And a lot of people are dead inside that are in these jobs. Anyways, this one is an underrated one. I'm pretty sure you've seen it. If not, go ahead and watch this movie. It's pretty cool. It's a really good movie about a psycho lady. This one is also underrated. Um, there's a part in this movie that really gets to the meat of what a psychopath thinks and how they think. And it's where he closes his eyes and he says, "When I close my eyes, I feel like the whole world stops for me. Like it doesn't exist without me." And that's very selfish, and delusional. Um, and they get to a certain point to where they've done it so much, right? These types of people that they get cocky and they just feel like the world is their oyster, and that's pretty much what happened in this movie here. Definitely check it out. Big fan of Timothy Oliphant. Um, Me personally, I really like his Justified um, TV show and stuff like that. So. And in at my number one is No Country for Old Men, Chagall, right? Anton Chagall. And Anton Chagall is my number one, right? So why is Anton Chagall my number one? Well, I know I said that, and this is one of the only ones that I actually saw have some empathy. From all of the ones that I did, I know I did say that the Hannibal Lecter has some sympathy in some of the scenes. Um, but now that I remember, I don't think I think he was just faking it, or I think he was just like the only person Hannibal Lecter seems to have empathy for is Clarice, right? But the reason is because Clarice, I think, reminds him of his sister. So I don't think it's even like a sexual thing. It's more of a sister thing, kind of like a loving brotherly love. I believe. I'm not sure. Um, and I think Hannibal gets off in different ways by eating, really by eating people. Um, but I can't really remember, if I saw any other type of empathy to Hannibal Lecter. But Anton Chigurh, there was a scene in the movie where I saw empathy, but he still did what he had to do. And a lot of people, by the way, misunderstand No Country for Old Men, and I know this because when I use this movie, I use this movie a lot when there's a lot of evil going on in the world, and when a lot of people tell me, because there has been people that have told me, why should I follow the rules, or why should I do this, that, and the other? What is it for? What's it all for? Like, that's a question that I've been asked. I don't know why. I'm not a preacher or a priest or a psychologist or anything like that. But that is a question that people have asked me. What's it all for? And that's a question that is asked in this movie. It's the whole movie is about that. What's it all for? And one of the one of the questions that Enter Shagul asks people before he kills them, or at least one of the people he killed. He says, "If everything you did led you to this moment, then what are rules for?" Right? Something like that. I forgot exactly what it says. But so what's it all for? If everything you did led you to this, right? And basically, what he's saying is, why are you following the rules? Why are you doing what's right? Why are you doing all of this? It's all already predestined. Everything you do is already predestined. And that's why he uses a coin. He goes around with a coin and he flips it. Because in his mind, he feels like he's but an instrument of death. And he wants to free himself from responsibility in a way, but at the same time, do what he has to do, what he's destined to do. So he flips a coin. And he lets fate decide for him and for his victim. But he truly does believe in this destiny thing, and you see it all throughout the movie, right? And you see this guy in Anton Chigurh that he does have some empathy in one of the scenes towards the end of the movie where he's gonna kill the wife of George Brolin's character, and he tells her, call it, because he's gonna flip a coin, and she says, no, I'm not gonna call it. I'm not gonna play your game. That stupid coin doesn't mean anything. Destiny, all of these things that you believe in doesn't mean anything. It's you. You're the one that's doing it, right? And you could see him kind of like crying because he's not really sure himself. Because that's a very existential question. Like, is it destiny? Are you predestined to do what you're gonna do, or is it you making the choices? It's one of those questions. Like, what's first, the chicken or the egg? And people have always questioned that. Even in Christianity, people always say, does God know what's going to happen? And if he knows what's going to happen, do we even have free choice? Do we have freedom of choice? If so, then he knows that I'm going to sin. He knows that I'm going to go to hell or to heaven. So what's it all for? And throughout the movie, you even see everybody in this movie. Tommy Lee Jones' character questions it. He's like, why am I doing this? Crime's always here. He goes visits his cousin, and he asks his cousin, what's going on out there? It's getting crazy. Times are getting crazy. And his cousin says, ain't shit getting crazy. This is the same shit over and over again. And you just got to do what it do. And the thing is, Tommy Lee Jones's character, I forget his name, but his father was a cop, and his father's father was a cop, and now he's a cop. And he thinks, well, what am I doing this for? It's not changing. Nothing changed for my father, for my grandfather, and nothing changed for me. I'm still out here fighting this crime, and now it's getting to the point to where I don't even want to do this no more because I don't feel like I can handle it. I can't catch this guy. And he's just killing people left and right, right? And then towards the end of the movie, he realizes, I have to do this because we are the torch in the darkness. we are the torch, and that's the answer for why you do the right thing. That's the answer for why you follow the rules. That's the answer for why, even though in today's day and age, it is praised to bully people. Like bullies are right now, they're like, praised. They're the most popular people are all bullies, right? And people that stand up for the weak, people that protest against injustice, those people are frowned upon. Those people are looked at as lame, and stuff like that. So that's why you do that, because you have to be the torch in the darkness, and that's what the dream meant. You have to go in the darkness, make a fire, so that other people can follow the light. Because if you don't do it, then it's all gonna be dark. And each person in this play has a role that they choose. The Tommy Lee Jones character, he's the cop. He has to chase the bad guy. Javier Bardem's character, Anton Chagall, he's the killer. He has to run, and he has to kill. So that's just the way it is. You choose it, and you do it. The worst thing you can do is to just sit around and just not do it. Not play your role. And yeah, it's one of those movies, man, and I really enjoyed it. But in my opinion, it's a very good portrayal of a type of psychotic killer, to where he believes that he's this instrument of death. And even towards the end, he actually gets hurt himself, right? And a younger person helps him. So it pretty much kind of saying no country for old men. Like even he's getting old, and even he's prone to death. He's gonna die too. And that's the nature of life. There's nothing is assured. And that's why I like this movie. And a lot of people don't like this movie because they don't feel. A lot of people want to see the bad guy lose, right? That's part of the reason why I liked Endgame. Because it's something different. It's not your typical shit that bad guys versus good guys versus bad guys. It's morphin time type shit. You know what I mean? Like real life shit, bro, is a lot more deeper, and it requires you to ponder things. And it's like I said, people just like the same old shit. And when somebody asks them real questions, some people, they just flies right through their head. And this is why we're in the situation we are today in this country. So what are we gonna do? That's what happens when you start defunding education, and you start building rockets to go to Mars. What are you gonna do in Mars? They ain't gonna take your dumb ass to Mars. I bet you they're not. Maybe for fodder or some shit. Anyways,